deserving of so much credit. You're very excited. Yone's banned.
Yone banned on red side.
They banned it on blue side too, so I'm not surprised.
It's a world's miracle. All right, I'm just saying.
But either way, Jan got a lot of criticism, and I think rightfully so for his performance last year at Worlds. I don't think he was really able to get much of anything done. He didn't have any big games that you kind of look back to and remember. Yeah. He was kind of a passenger in a lot of those games, and he has improved so much from last year to this year. It really is incredible. Even in a run where TL are obviously disappointed where they are at, he has had some very bright moments. I don't think he has really been a part of most of the kind of like big oopsie moments or mistakes. He's been really consistent. He's been very impressive so far.
Yeah, it's a very similar trajectory to what we saw from APA. I feel like the APA story ends up taking center stage most of the time because he came in late in the season last year. They started with Jan and Harry, then it switches to Jan and APA. APA also came out much more of a like a trash talker, much more of a big personality compared to Jan, and so his glow up ends up becoming more prominent. But Jan has improved so much. He really was the deciding factor in that final fight in Team Liquid being able to end the game. And let's go ahead and see how this game differs.
But that's why they're going to ban away the Kaisa, right? Make sure that Jan doesn't have that same impact in the last game. Now, I still think that buy Ari for APA was a big proponent for their success, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them try and log that in on this rotation here, but kind of surprised to see the Jax ban come through because you saw
really
the details, it was not looking so hot.
No, I mean, he did about as much damage as the supports in that game. Weiser was really running him in the 1v1, had more impact in the team fight, so I'm pretty surprised that got banned out.
All right, so the bans here in this first round, it's Ziggs, Jax, Kaisa, banned out by Pain, Aurora, Yone, and Lucian, banned out by Team Liquid. First pick of the draft is Nocturne for Pain. I love that. I feel like it's such an impactful champion when played well. Karaoke going to be piloting that one again. This time around, Team Liquid first picking the Gnar for themselves, taking it away from Weiser.
And do they take away the Orianna? Do you just deny that combo here? Because Orianna is still a perfectly good mage just by herself in the mid lane, and with the Aurora taken away, those have kind of been the two combos that we've seen Nocturne paired with. But going to go back towards the Skarner and say, hey look, if you're just going to jump on me, I'm going to impale you in place.
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see, what kind of combo they go for. If it's Nocturne or Orianna, you can also go towards the Kennen, which is considered a strong early matchup into the Gnar, and also does pair really, really well with the Nocturne. So I think there's definitely some options there. There's lots of strong pairings, but looking like it is going to be the Orianna. Obviously going to be piloting the Skarner here. Did have some disappointing ults in that first game. You could see even in his player cams, he was missing some of the ults against, I think it was the LNG game. That really had some big reactions and definitely wants to prove how well he can play. But that being said, his early games have been very strong. I think across all of the games that TL have played at Worlds, has really been a difference maker. Was able to be a part of the first blood in mid lane in both of their first two games, was a big part of getting APA fed in the last game like they were talking about on the desk. So I do think overall his level of play has been pretty high.
All right, Renekton versus Gnar. You can't get much more of a classic top lane matchup than this, I feel like, at Worlds if you look back throughout the history books. But that's going to be the name of the game here in this second head-to-head between these two teams. Weiser piloting the Renekton, and it looks like it's APA's Nico coming back onto the Rift. We did see him pick this in their first game here at Worlds. He had a pretty rough game on it, but we've seen some pretty brilliant performances from him on it in the past as well. So I think the NA fans out there are hoping to see APA Nico back in form here.
Yeah, and I think it can work out incredibly well for them, especially when the composition that wants to try and jump in on top of you. You buy a lot of space for what should be a lot of firepower in behind it. But at the moment, sure, you've got some damage from the Gnar and the Skarner, but it's not enough to really facilitate what I think you need right now. So I am looking at a heavy late game scaling carry here for Jan to try and really bounce up and bring up that damage level, so then in the fights you've got that to rely on.
Honestly, I think if Ezreal's not banned now, he'll probably just go Ezreal from this spot. And we'll see, how he's going to be able to perform on that. But yeah, this is kind of two parts of that LNG loss where they had two players who were getting a lot of criticism, APA and both playing the exact same champions here, so looking to make good on that. You can see, though, that TL is kind of showcasing that they want to go heavier on the dive. That's what the ban on Xayah is telling me. So will be interesting to see what the final ban here is from Pain, if they're actually going to ban away the Ezreal and try to deny that from Jan, potentially.
Yeah, I'm curious if they end up with some sort of even delving further into that counter engage with the Renata or something for Core JJ, but I do think you actually want a little bit more of that potential setup engage, like an Alistair or the Relb. Poppy also banned away, says that chances are they're eyeing up a Relb for themselves here on Pain Gaming side, but we'll have to see if they're going to get down into that, as I don't think the Jin's what you want here. Honestly, as you said, the Ezreal or something along these lines that can play heavy in those team fights would be great.
Jumping back and forth between a whole lot of
I
different
think
stuff.
it's going to be Ezreal or Varus.
Callista and Poppy banned out by Pain.
Ezreal or Varus is the only ones I believe in. Yeah,
All
Ezreal
right.
is kind of what I figured pretty early on, just kind of knowing his playstyle. And when you're looking over and you're seeing Nocturne, well, you don't want to play something like a Varus when really it's so dangerous into that. So
Yeah, you just get torpedoed.
Exactly. In this way, it's still very difficult though, because you can't really flash the Nocturne Orianna combo if they time it well. You know, the Nocturne's always going to follow you after that flash. If you flash after he arrives, the Nocturne Orianna combo has already gone off. So it is kind of unavoidable damage if it's perfectly timed. But obviously you have that range, you have that safety, and you have potentially the follow-up into the back line.
Okay, well, we've got the Jhin locked in for Chitan, and the Rel will be
Very
taken
standard on
away
mid side.
from Core JJ this time. Curry will be the one playing that. What does Core want to play into it? I expect an engaged champion here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be engaged pretty much 100%. You know, I do think that Skarner can work on a flank or Gnar can work on a flank, but all of these champions in the first three are better as follow-up engage, I think, than primary engage. So I do think grabbing Leona makes a lot of sense here. Leona hits an ulti, Leona hits an E, everyone else kind of piles in. You have that follow-up, you know, of the E from Nico, of the stun from that Skarner. And that's going to be the name of the game, is really can TL get to and pressure Jhin, Kato, and Chitan? Because I think that is really where you're going to get the success. If the Nico ult is only hitting frontline, if the Gnar ult isn't able to get into that backline, that's where I think they're going to struggle.
I also think there is a window where you can try and just play through this mid jungle and punish Jhin Kato. Just say, look, that combo falls apart if you've got no damage on this Orianna, so let's just try and focus her down early. You've got good lockup with the Nico, great follow-up from a Skarner that can come in from multiple different angles. It could be the point of contention for TL.
Yeah, absolutely. And like what I was touching on before, you know, Umti in both of her two games was part of First Blood in mid lane, right? He has been playing pretty heavily towards that, has been doing a good job of tracking vision, so we'll see how Pain are going to be able to handle it. I have to give Curry a lot of credit from the early game last game where I was talking about how much he was actually covering Jhin Kato on this Orianna. When he lost his flash, the Alistar from that game was pretty much always behind him, covering him to push out these waves, making sure he couldn't actually be preyed on by this Vi Ahri combo. So we'll see if he's going to be trying to do something similar here in game number 2.
All right, fellas. Team Liquid, one game away from winning the series and ending the world's run of Pain Gaming. But Pain, you know, they would love to take this to a game 3. They would love, after the first time for Brazil making it back to the main stage in so many years, to then knock out a major region team would just be an absolutely incredible accomplishment.
Yeah, and Chitan talked to Pedro Romero and was saying that, look, even though we've kind of ticked off a lot of our boxes, like getting to the main stage, playing against T1, like Curry and Chitan were speaking quite a lot about how, for Curry specifically, it was great for him to kind of play up against his old team in T1 and go against Gumayushi and Kerry and play against some of his old friends from back then as well. But they don't want this to be over. They still want to keep kicking, and they were definitely kicking and screaming in the last one as TL barely got across the finish line. And now it's time to see if they can keep that one rolling again.
All right, as our top laners dance back and forth, a reminder to log into your Riot account on lolesports.com and watch Worlds live to earn exclusive Worlds emotes, icons, and capsules. Things you can spam at your lane opponent, just like those fellas were doing up there in the top lane, as TL are going for a little bit of a delayed invade here. Core JJ and Yon just walking through the enemy jungle as Chitan heads back to his tier 1 turret.
Yeah, but no lane swap this time around. TL obviously really well known for executing on those incredibly well. Have been very successful even here at Worlds. And we're going to get some standard lanes, which to me is always way more exciting, honestly. I just want to see these lanes go head-to-head, see what Core and Yon can do against Chitan and Curry.
I am a fellow lane swap hater.
Yeah.
I appreciate your opinion, my friend.
Okay, we'll see if they want to try to actually jump in, or if it's just going to be looking for a little bit of poke. Looks like they'll just play for the push, and Pain playing intelligently on the other side of those minions, so no sort of Mystic Shot could actually land from that spot.
All right, just fighting for vision control over the brush. They do manage to secure that first ward kill there. They're losing bone plating. Mystic Shot sidestep, though. Nicely done on that one.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to have too much action in the early stages. I think the main one is, again, kind of waiting for some of these kind of level 5, 6 to be hit, especially for their mid lane, and then trying to play through that. But the opportunity for Umti as he starts to move down towards his bottom side is the only one that I'd kind of be keeping my eyes on to see, hey, look, have we actually got this lane breaking either way, or have we been able to find a big engage for Curry and Chitan that maybe you can look to punish or counter that aggression? But at the moment, Chitan having that control.
Ooh, nice double shattering strike there from Curry. Followed up with a quick deadly flourish from Chitan. Poor JJ and Yon both already drinking some of those potions, popping some of their healing items.
Yeah, it's hard to trade very effectively as Core JJ on the level 1 because you're able to do the crash down as well. You get that extra range on the auto attacks and you can kind of poke from a little bit afar. Now, if you invest the Q from Core JJ, you can get the stun back, but it's very hard to try and get through everything like the shield and that on the trade. So at least Curry able to play it advantageously in this matchup and will help get that push.
You can see APA, though, winning out pretty heavily on these trades. Jinkato has already used both of his potions here, so APA has that additional potion and the HP lead to boot.
Right, remember back in game number 1, because of the way that it wasn't just a lane swap, it was a weird lane swap where Impact was still able to get his EXP down there in the bottom lane, and so APA had to deal with a 2v1 lane situation early that caused him to get pushed back, that caused him to be down in HP. Now that it's a fair fight, now that it's a 1v1, he appears to be doing a whole lot better.
Yep, looking good thus far. APA obviously has had quite the journey from a player that was like kind of becoming a bit of a laughingstock in the community. People were, constantly criticizing him, saying there's no way he deserves a spot on TL, that he's going to get replaced. He has put his head down and grinded. This guy has worked so incredibly hard, and that has really been one of the hallmarks of the entire TL team, and their improvement throughout this year has been how hard they have worked. We even saw Yike giving a lot of credit over to them and talking about how he respects how much TL really has put in that work. As Umpty, was looking for a potential angle on a dive, but will at the very least be able to steal away these Raptors.
On the opposite side for Pain Gaming, this was supposed to be a squad that in theory was almost like a super team, bringing in Cheaton and Curry this year. This was the addition that everyone looked and said, oh yeah, Pain Gaming is going to MSI, but they couldn't quite get it right for spring. But now coming in towards summer, this bot lane has been so good for them, and even now at Worlds, Cheaton and Curry have been having a great time.
Ooh, hold on, Karaoke having a flash away from the Tangle Barbs, otherwise APA could have set it up with Umpty for a kill.
And I think it's also been really, really fun watching Cheaton in Champions Queue. People are giving so much credit to him, hyping him up. He's actually really performing so well individually. And he's just such a fun player to watch because he has this extremely aggressive play style there where he's looking for these 1v1s. He's trying to dash forward. He's trying to make space and create problems for the enemy team. Force them to try to look for some sort of ability to outplay him instead of just sitting back and waiting for a mistake. And we can see there, he's able to force out the barrier from Yan.
Top lane also going better than it was in game number 1 for Team Liquid. Ooh, nicely done from Core JJ there, throwing out the Zenith Blade, forcing a flash from Jinkato. This is also really nice considering our mid laners are about halfway to level 6 for Jinkato, nearly all the way there for APA. No flash on an Orianna. If you have the setup here on the Nico for a Pop Blossom and Skarner driving through a wall, lots of kill potential.
Yeah, it's also worth knowing that Umpty is going kind of that more scaling route here. He is going Grasp, which pretty much always means you go with the Heartsteel's Derek's build.
Yep.
And that is much slower to turn on than kind of the other option, which some people just go Zeke's or Locket or those types of supportive items. But it does scale very well and can make you quite a bruiser in these later fights.
Okay, Umpty flashing forward to slam Karaoke into the wall. APA comes in with a Pop Blossom and finds 2. Core JJ is going to die, but APA is going to get first blood on Karaoke first. Team Liquid continuing the 2v2 now against Curry and Jinkato, who has to try to get away back underneath the Tier 1 turret of Pain Gaming. 1 for 1 when the dust settles.
The Sundering Strike from Curry just dissuading any sort of follow-up there from TL. The slow could have been it, but still, they managed to get a 1 for 1 all said and done.
You get 1 for 1, but it's first blood for TL, and the kill goes on APA, whereas on the other side, it's just going to your support here, which obviously favors TL pretty heavily. Also means they have that kind of HP advantage there, at least for now. So they're trying to start up these grubs, but Karaoke is back from the base, is back to full health, and Umpty is getting low, so this is getting a little bit dicey here for TL.
Yeah, Umpty only at 40% HP. Gonna have to retreat away from this when Karaoke will say thank you very much and head back into the grub pit.
Umpty is moving over to try and collect his Krugs though, because it should tick him over to level 6, which is why he wanted to get that Scuttle Crab as well, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to stay with the low health.
Impact has Mega, hard. So I think they want it.
Yeah, Impact has Meganar and Flash. Meanwhile, Cheaton in some trouble down here in the bottom lane. Core JJ just going to immediately find the shield at Daybreak. Follows Cheaton underneath the turret. It's another 1-for-1 trade, but the money's on Yawn, so Team Liquid's going to call that one worth.
Yeah, they're definitely going to call that one worth, and we'll see how much farm does end up getting denied. Of course, the wave is crashing on TL's tower right now, so Cheaton not losing out too much. But the biggest story is that he loses both his summoners there, so he's going to be very vulnerable in these subsequent fights here, as Jinkato getting quite low, but does have Curry covering him, just like he did in game number 1.
They should give Dragon to Umpty, though. You can see him moving out of base and immediately move down to this bottom side. The kill on boss, and then him ticking over to level 6, but Looks like he's just going to try and shadow APA here as he pushes in and pick up these Raptors, but I imagine as Yon gets back out of the map, that'll be where they try and IO.
Yeah, you can see Core coming over as well, so they might actually look for a potential fight here on Karioka as he's going to try to come forward.
Karioka has no flash. He's got no way out. Umpty just immediately kills him with the Impale, drags him right back over. There's no way for Nocturne to react with the spell shield when you don't know that they're there.
He didn't get a chance to react as he got locked up. It was really good layering of CC. You see CoreJJ just standing there waiting to smash that shield into his face before he even gets a chance to respond.
And it's just great play from the mid jungle here of TL. Impact holding up much better, in that 1v1 here against Weiser. That was 40 gold lead, who cares? It's basically even. But APA getting 2 of those early kills. Core has been so active on the map. This kind of is his signature style. When he gets unlocked from map, it works so well when he's pairing with that Ezreal, because he can just get out on the map, attack these different lanes, pair up with Umpty, pair up with APA, and cause problems.
I mean, it's the reason why everybody always loves seeing CoreJJ on these Engage and Playmaker champions. Remember that when he became a world champion, it was back in Season 7. That wasn't just Enchanter meta. That was one of the darkest hours in League of Legends. That was Ardent Censor meta, right? That was the Enchanter of Enchanter metas. But the man, it's not that he can't play Enchanters.
Here we go.
It's that he's so good at Engage. And Karioka's engaging in the mid lane now, going after APA. A nice shockwave to follow it up. Jinkato and Karioka, they've got APA's number, and Karioka's getting paid.
And that's where you can start to turn it around. Jinkato and Karioka, we were just praising TL's mid-jungle, but great pick onto APA, who still had no flash up because he'd used it in that earlier skirmish around mid.
Exactly, and it was a nice attempt by APA. He tried to use the E through the Nocturne to hit the Orianna to try to get the extended range there. Couldn't quite connect on it, and then when that happens, you just have to give it up. You realize you're going to be going down, as Impact trading heavily here with Weiser.
Problem is, Impact doesn't have any buddies, and Weiser's got a couple of them heading up. So Impact, as soon as he turns back into the mini Gnar, knows he has to hop away. He will disengage before they jump on him. Down in the bottom lane, though, it looks like Yon is just going to keep on pushing, keep on farming, grab a little bit of plate money, and keep getting fed on this Ezreal.
Yeah, exactly. We can see that Chiton didn't feel safe, right? Because he lost his summoner, so he couldn't actually answer a 1v2 on the bot side. He would just get dove. So he has to give that up. But unfortunately, the tempo kind of wasn't really there. The resets weren't in time. So Jinkato heads out towards bot, but not before they lost a plate, not before they lose most of those minions. And Chiton is the one that heads out towards mid lane to try to collect that.
Now ended until the Void Grubs as well. You can see the resets coming through as TL start to move up towards the top side.
Had transformed into a minion. He walked back to the minion wave to make sure he could get the transform. Chiton doesn't count the wave, and APA catches him off guard.
It just reminds me of the Berserker meme. Berserker sees 2 cannons on a wave and thinks it's his lucky day.
Well, it's definitely APA's
it's the
lucky
80
day.
carry meme right there. Yeah, APA able to grab a kill. Nicely done by him. You gotta count those minions. You have to be so careful about it. It's one of the most frustrating things about Nico is you kind of have to play this mini game the entire game. If Nico's not on the map, you've got to be watching for those potential plays. And you can see he's actually shifted over to Yon, but Yon's showing mid, so not going to surprise anyone about it.
It does mean you don't have APA's ultimate available though for the upcoming Void Grub. So it is giving a lot of gold and resources, don't get me wrong, with all these plates going down. But I'm curious how Pain Gaming want to try and react to this. You still don't have like first item completions coming through, so it would still be very risky to go for a play, but maybe you can find a timing window as they come up. But with TL now shifting topside, Weiser might be the one who's none the wiser here.
Umpty and Karioka going to find one another here in this tri-brush near top lane. Doesn't look like we'll get a whole lot more after it, or will we? Never mind. They want a full commit here onto Impact, who has to try to get away from it. He flashes to escape, but Jinkato's already there and waiting. Shockwave brings him on back. 3v1 is no fun for the top laner of Team Liquid. Nice moves from Pain Gaming to pick one up.
Yeah, really nice by Pain, and especially the timing on it, because it's right before grubs. They already have 3. If they can get 6 grubs, this would be massive. So Umpty wants to try to stay away and see if he can at least steal 1.
Exactly. Just smite the 1 grub, keep him away from 6. First one already goes over to Pain. Umpty and CoreJJ, they know they can't get any closer. Jinkato is still up there. Impact is still dead. There's no real way for Team Liquid to try to get closer to this, but Yon, Umpty, and Core are still moving closer. That last grub, it's very low. It's still trying to fight. Umpty now in the middle of 4. Team Liquid going way too far forward. Weiser's already killed Umpty. TL got way too greedy for the grubs here. All 6 go over to Pain Gaming anyway. APA trying to join up for the fight now. He has his Pop Blossom, but it's too little, too late. Pain Gaming get the objective and the cherry on top for a bonus kill.
I thought Umpty would contest the second grub because the initial smite came down in the first one, but he didn't try to walk in to get just the smite and walk away, deny that 6 grub buff, and it means now TL end up giving over just more kills to boot to Pain Gaming getting that big advantage.
Exactly. I mean, he just kind of walked all the way in there, and Pain are able to get an easy kill onto Umpty. And to add insult to injury, APA then kind of gets drawn into the play. He TPs down from bot lane instead of actually staying and potentially finishing off that tower there. That also means that this whole wave here is going to get denied because he doesn't have a TP to answer that. So definitely a good run of plays there for Pain. Starts with a great pick from them topside on impact, gets him the 6 grubs. But TL, you can definitely see those nerves.
Well, that's the thing. I think now, though, with all these ultimates back up, they do have an advantage when it comes towards this next dragon. But Pain, honestly, maybe just give it up and go, hey, look, we can start to take some more of these plates while it's still available. Use that 6 grub buff and keep control over mid. TL looking to pick up Weiser, return the favor here on the top laner.
APA and Umpty working together again. Flash out from Weiser to avoid the angle into the wall from Umpty, but a nice use of the Impale drags the Croc back into the Pop Blossom. And there's your damage for APA.
And one of the problems there from Weiser is he actually missed his slice, so he didn't get the reset on the E. He didn't have slice into the dice. If he actually had that, I think he would have been able to create enough space to potentially get out, but he flashes, then E's, so ends up being a situation where they're able to chase him down. Now, though, Pain trying to look for a topside play. You can see Jin's even moving up.
Carioca, after impact, knocks him down to half HP. Deadly Flourish to follow it up. Keep the Gnar locked up there, but Impact has a wave to give him the extra distance and the hop away. So you've got Carioca and Jinkato trying to knock down the tier 1 turret. Meanwhile, Dragon secured by TL. No steal away this time.
But it does mean that TL are going to be faster back out on the map. The reset from APA, but Yon
Not
Nicely
just
done.
shifting away, but shifting away slightly to the side, so he's not where the Deadly Flourish would naturally aim.
But here's the thing, APA's now back out into the map, doesn't have that ultimate available, but the resets for Rift Herald are there, and see the time mirrors that are here for Pain Gaming, they've still got to try and get back out, so TL could look to potentially sneak this away, but I don't know how confident they are on where Pain Gaming are on the map.
And look at the gold advantage here for APA. Very ahead once again, like last game, even more so this game. Has the Storm Surge, going to be working towards that Proto Belt, so will have a very strong 2-item power spike. That makes it a lot easier to get that backline access, and we'll see if he can find those critical ultimates, because Nico is so feast or famine. You hit that perfect ult, you do so much damage. You miss it, they all flash out. All of a sudden, it can be an easy teamfight loss after, because you don't really have that much in your kit besides the ult.
The downside, though, is there's very little vision for APA to try and make these plays. TL, Yon ended up moving down to pick up blue buff. Core JJ was trying to sync up with Umpty, but he was clearing out his camp, so Impact needs to be the one that draws members of Pain Gaming down here, as now mid-control will give TL the space they need on towards the objective.
And that quick trade back and forth between Chiton and Yon. Yon used the barrier there to make sure that he didn't lose excess HP. So that Summoner Spell is down for this Rift Herald fight if Pain decide to fight for it. Rift Herald's already going to be started here by Team Liquid. They are on top of a ward that has not been cleared, so Pain Gaming know what's going on. They're using the TP. They want to bring Jinkato up here. They want to fight for this. X-Flash from Curry doesn't really find a whole lot of anything. Weiser off to the side. Carioca jumping into the middle. Nice shockwave. It's Team Liquid in trouble. His Impact is already dead, but a nice 2-man impale. Drags a couple back the other way. Weiser from the other side going in, looking for the angle for the pincer attack on Yon. Core JJ barely getting away. A double kill back to APA, and Yon is ready to fire. Weiser takes Umpty out, but there's 3 dead on both sides.
That was such a close fight. I think it was a good call from Pain Gaming to realize that APA in marking Weiser wasn't there for the big ultimate, but as soon as APA gets involved, TL are just have to turn around with so much damage off of this Nico.
Yeah, but still, credit to the Pain carries. They stay safe here. Chiton, as well as Jinkato, they're not really targeted. So yes, it is a threatening ult that comes over here. They try to find this combo, but the first kill is actually claimed before Nico ultimate even lands, and the second kill is flashed out of here. Like, it only lands on nothing, right? So yeah, it looked like it was going to be a lot, but look at Chiton over there, look at Jinkato over here. Also clever little play there from APA, utilized the clone to try to put it in Chiton's face and block the angle for the Jin ultimates. So some nice little plays there, but it is always tough when you have this Nico that gets way ahead and has all the gold. You have to nail those ultimates. In this case, it didn't really matter, but if it gets flashed out of, you have not a lot left.
And look at Impact. He still has Flash. He still has Mega Gnar. He died before he could do anything in that fight. Now Umpty getting rooted up as he steps a little bit too far forward into the territory of Pain Gaming. Loses about 1/3 HP there on the Skarner. Team Liquid up 1,000 gold, but it's really not a whole lot 17 minutes into the game. They are going to start the Rift Herald up here again. Down in the bottom lane, it's Yawn and Weiser, but Weiser has an Unleashed TP to join up in the fight here in the topside river if he needs to. So it looks like Yawn's just going to follow him in case that Lizard tries to use the teleport.
Impact's ult is not going to be available here. Mega Gnar is going to expire. Pain had vision on that, so maybe they're going to look for a fight. Core sees them, though.
Herald is low, but it ain't dead yet. Paranoia popped. Rift Herald still at about 2K.
TP.
A lot of damage comes out with a Magnet Storm engage coming out from Curry and Pain Gaming. Yawn's going to be killed here at the very start as Impact has to walk away in Mini Gnar. Weiser still with a Dominus locking him up, and Team Liquid with some critical errors has already lost 2. They're about to lose 3. Impact is dead. APA staying alive just a little bit longer. He's trying to hold the line. He goes in for the Pop Blossom. He wants to turn it around, but everybody else is already dead. There's no follow-up, and Umpty whiffs the Skarner ulti again. Massive moves from Pain Gaming.
Yeah, Pain is showing up huge, really understanding where they are strong, when they are strong. This combination with the Orianna and the Nocturne is so incredibly powerful, and they're just spending all their resources to dodge damage from APA. As long as they don't get caught in a big Nico ultimate, there's really not a lot of DPS left in this kit here. So they get straight in onto Yawn, they lock him up fully. Yes, he had Flash, but at this point you're too low. It's not even worth trying to waste it. And they did a really good job to find this kill. They know Impact was not in Mega and couldn't have any effect.
Also, great TP ward for Weiser, right? Ends up zoning APA away from a lot of that, and then they're able to force the play on towards the side, and then at the very end, their APA turning into the minion to avoid that last shot from Chitan. At least nice heads-up play, but it's kind of a very slim silver lining on the play.
And it is APA using his flash there. He did trade it with Chitan, so Chitan is not having that flash now as he went for that ultimate, as they were sieging that mid lane tower. Gold very, very even here. TL do have that 2 dragon lead right now. It is going to be another Ocean Soul game, but Pain is first to the area. And you can see both the TL jungle and top are up towards that top lane. So it's just going to be a trade, and they're going to see if they can get 1 or maybe even 2 towers here.
Yeah, I think they're fishing for the tier 2 because Jin Kato already securing that bot one. They kind of need another turret to make this valuable. Chitan is going to move over with Curry, but I think they should still be able to get it with just the amount of TL members that are there. I'm surprised Impact didn't just ride it straight into the turret, to be honest.
Yeah, it would have been a lot faster for sure, but they will at least get that second charge. We'll see if they can finish it off, but Impact did just use his hop to actually just for the attack speed.
Yeah.
Now he doesn't have it.
Now Impact's in some serious trouble. CoreJJ wants to step up and help him, but Impact's gonna die before he can even transform. Tragedy after tragedy for Impact, as now Chitan grabbing another kill on CoreJJ.
It's
Yawn.
It's the inverse.
It's
no
a
way.
It's deja vu. We're back in the same
Yawn
spot
stole
we
the
were.
dragon.
Wow.
There ain't no way, man.
We thought Yone was broken. It's Ezreal this whole time.
What can junglers do? Press might.
Junglers hate him. This one trick.
One simple trick.
I cannot believe that Impact uses either, though, in that spot, man. It's right on vision. They see you. Yes, you do get the attack speed buff. That's why he does it, but he just E's to try to finish off the tower, and it's an easy engage and a kill. Impact now 0 and 4. 2.4 thousand gold behind Weiser. Again, really getting outplayed by his counterpart.
But this is the steal, and this is actually massive. So again, just Smite was available.
And
he doesn't want to use
sometimes the Spectre client is wrong, but if it was up, that's a big oopsie. And another flash force there by APA.
But this is the thing now. So for TL, look, that entire topside play went completely awry, but having 3 dragons now, 1, you can either just hope for a steal from Umpty, but 2, you can also start to play elsewhere on the map and make things very uncomfortable for Pain, who have to every single time start to contest you, because if you end up with like trying Chitan to poke you off of an Ocean Soul, it's just not going to work out well for you.
Very important purchase done now, though, for Weiser. Sterix gauge completed on the Renekton. Renekton with Sterix versus Renekton without feels like an entirely different champion in the team fight because you can full send into the back line, be this massive space creator, this massive disruptor that everybody on the enemy team has to protect their carries from.
Yeah, and Gnar on the other side, we haven't even seen him be able to get any Mega Gnar. It's nice ult over the wall.
Nice impale from Umpty to find Curry there, drags him back over the other side. Yawn wants to follow and gets the kill. Now Team Liquid looking for a little bit more. They force the flash out of Karaoke. He has to avoid the tangle barbs there.
And they get his ulti too, so great moves there from TL. Umti finding a key pick, pulling him back over the wall.
So the thing about Skarner's ultimate, if you pull somebody over the wall like that, no matter what, they must then spawn on the same side of the wall as you.
Yep.
Even if you don't move, they've got to be on the same side of the terrain, and it makes it so easy to follow it up with the immediate wall slam after. They layer the CC. Yawn is fearless, hopping over to follow it up with the damage, and Team Liquid get a really needed pick.
I didn't know you played a lot of Skarner.
Oh yeah, you know, I dabble.
Okay, yeah.
And Team Liquid right now is still dabbling with a very close game. This is really, really impressive, I think, from Pain Gaming to be able to keep up with Team Liquid the way that they have.
Yeah, I mean, if you would talk about pre-tournament expectations, nice juke by APA there. Goes the opposite way he would expect with the clone. But if you would talk about pre-tournament expectations and tell someone before the tournament started that Pain would not only qualify to Swiss, but would be pushing Team Liquid to the brink in a best-of series, you would be blown away. And they definitely have a lot to be proud of about how they are playing here.
Second items coming online for multiple different champions. You can see your Seraph's Embrace plus Storm Surge, both fully completed. For Jinkato, who is 2-0-7 on the Orianna, by the way. Really good performance on that champion this game. Static Shiv plus Infinity Edge for Cheaton's Jin. Over on the other side, Trinity Force Muramana core build completed for Yawn, who just now destroyed another turret as well. Umpty making Curry jump back over the wall there towards the safety of his team. Skarner has about 150 extra health stacked up on the Heartsteel, so a little bit, but nothing completely crazy here just yet. Again, Azale, you mentioned it earlier, but this is the build that scales further and further. If you're playing a 40-minute game of League of Legends, you would much rather have this build than the Zeke's Convergence one, but it does take a longer time to come online.
Yeah, exactly. And it can also be strong against melee-heavy teams because it's easier to kind of just walk around and just proc that on a bunch of different people. Right now, it does do 254 bonus damage on the auto, which isn't insignificant. It can actually make a difference on getting some of those kills, so can be pretty strong. We'll see, though, if TL can close this one out. It is 50 seconds just about until that soul is spawning here, and TL are trying to get Vision down on the bot side. You can see the resets have come through, except from Impact, who is still very, very far behind, and we'll see if he can find that correct timing. This would be too weird if it's, again, now a trade for Ocean Soul and the other team if Pain goes for Baron.
No shot. I refuse to believe. Umpty swooping around from the side there. Finds Curry. A little bit more damage. Without the Tangle Barbs connecting from APA, though, they're not going to full commit onto that. I feel like if you get the root from the Nico, you can try to burst the Rel down, but as soon as it misses, they just give up.
Great poke. That's all you needed from TL, just to force them back, and then you get to take over. And trying to force your way through this top side with APA, being any one of the critters that exist in this jungle is always going to be terrifying.
And I think that was one of the things that TL struggled with in some of their earlier games, where they'd get a chunk and they feel like, we need to get more, we need to get a kill, we need to finish them off. It's okay to just maintain position, control an area around the dragon, get a chunk, and use that to try to play for the objective. And we can see Impact here up on the top side. Was in Mega just recently, so he has no Gnar bar, so even if he TP's in, he's not going to be much of a threat. TL needs to slow play this and buy time for Impact.
Great play from APA, though. He's completely out of vision. There is very few wards behind, so he could get a great flank position.
All right, Dragon's already at half HP. Impact going back to base right now. Clone from APA sent forward on top of the Dragon's position as now Impact is ready to join the team, but he is mini Gnar. He has Sterix Gauge now purchased. Wiser could be in some danger, already down to half HP, has to take the Blast Cone back over the wall. Paranoia used, but Carioca makes no engage. The Drake secured by Pain Gaming, but now they gotta try to get away. Jinkato is inside the Drake pit as Carioca is caught. Jungler down, Pain Gaming on the run. Team Liquid, they force out the flash from the enemy mid laner. They kill the enemy jungler. Baron is alive.
Exactly. They're going to go straight over towards that Baron. AP going to push out bot first, though, because he does have the TP available. Great smite, though, from Carioca to secure that, because giving over Soul on top of this run of play could have been game-ending here. And now the game, at the very least, will continue, though albeit at a big advantage for TL. They're going to try to come over and see if they can test this, but APA does have TP, and there is a ward right there.
Yeah. Pain wants to try to stop it. The Baron's not dropping exceptionally fast.
He's going to get the flank on the TP.
Curry still has Magnet Storm. Keep your eyes on that. Wiser coming around from the side.
Here he comes.
Dominus also ready, but the TP arrives for APA. The real one gets rooted up. He pop blossoms absolutely nothing. He's got to try to get away from the curtain call. He's juking the shots well so far. The Baron should be a guaranteed take for Team Liquid. They secure it with the smite, and now Wiser's in the middle of a 1v4. The Renekton is surviving for an incredibly long time, and he goes on a rampage as Yawn dies. Core JJ will be the next to go. APA's clone surely can't save him here. Team Liquid, they secure the Baron, but Pain punished with a double kill.
Nice kills coming through for Pain Gaming off the back of it. Karyoka's ultimate is just nearly off cooldown, but wasn't quite there to try and get him into position. But Baron secured for TL, even if it was a little dicey on the exit.
Yeah, definitely dicey there. And I mean, again, you know, with APA not finding anything on the flank here, he tries to come in with the TP on the angle. It's a great initial catch there from Jinkato, and then the root from Titan means he can't actually rocket pelt forward. He can't flash in for the kill.
The big one, though, is the fact that he got out the shockwave. He tried to hold him in place, but here we go.
We're not done, boys. Umpty jumping in there, trying to protect his mid laner as it looks like the first turret is already down, and they aren't done yet. Pain Gaming with a big shutdown on APA. That Nico dead now for 50 seconds.
This combo is so terrifying. Throughout Worlds, we've seen how strong it is, not only this year, but in years past as well, and it has worked out fantastically. The Nocturne being able to get on towards the backline wasn't quite the shockwave, but still that damage from the Storm Surge to follow up is enough to finish off both players and towers.
Yeah, absolutely. And APA, you know, he is most of the gold lead here for TL, so needs to be able to find those big ultis, but without Flash now, it's going to get that much more difficult. Lost that in that previous play. You know, TL do still have Baron on a couple here, and we'll see if they can get anything from this, but so far, that Rebel Baron power play, that's negative 700 gold for TL. Pain have pulled this game pretty much right back to even, and are just punishing TL on every single mistake. They're playing a really strong series.
I am really impressed by what we're seeing from Pain Gaming here today up against Team Liquid. They are doing everything they can to fight these guys at every possible opportunity. They are barely 1,000 gold behind TL, but the big worry for Pain right now, I think, still has to be that Dragon Soul, as Umpty could be in a tough spot, finds the Impale onto 2, APA ready to follow it up, the rest of Team Liquid providing the firepower. Umpty's Sterix Gauge gonna proc, so now he's gonna be feeling pretty good. Weiser stuck in a bad spot. He tries to slice and dice, but it ain't gonna work enough. Weiser still somehow alive. Nico into the back line as Karyoka falls. Yawn's gripping a kill, and that's about to be a full ace for Team Liquid. APA's wrapping around to cut off the escape route. Jinkato wants to get away, and Team Liquid will not allow it. Brazil is aced, and Team Liquid is marching down mid lane.
Liquid show up huge in that fight, and they're gonna probably just try to end it right here, right now.
Only 5 seconds left on Curry, but it's a support alone. Pain Gaming stood so tall, they fought so hard, but they will ultimately succumb to Team Liquid, who will continue their fight at Worlds 2024.
I gotta say though, man, if that's a preview of some of the Americas matches for next year, Pain has really been stepping up, making it a banger, but a great win for TL at the end of the day. There was definitely some bumps in the road, but they can build some confidence here. They're still alive in the tournament, and now they're gonna have to try to look forward to their next match. And there are some tough draws that you could get. BLG's in there, Weibo's in there. There are some really strong teams.
And I think you can still see the mid to late game mistakes there for TL, but a happy face if you can get that win and start to move forward throughout the rest of the tournament. But I think for Pain Gaming, just commiserations. They proved a huge amount for the CB lot of this Worlds event, and I think they can be very proud of what they did.
Absolutely. Pain Gaming, they can leave with their heads held high, qualifying for the main stage, pushing Team Liquid to the brink.